So can you take us through your first deal, what that looked like? And then what advice would you give to somebody maybe looking to do their first commercial deal? Like, what did the first apartment look like? How many doors was it? What was the purchase price? Did you end up selling it? Did you end up keeping it, refinancing it? And did you use your own money or did you use somebody else's money as well?
Yeah. Great question. I always get asked about my first deal, but not necessarily my first apartment deal, which is probably pretty more substantial even potentially. So, listen, man, there's two ways to get into apartments. And a lot of people think that I think there's a lot of misperceptions in people's heads about what they need to do or how they need to prepare in order to get into commercial real estate and apartments. One misconception is I need to go stockpile a bunch of my own cash in order to then have the capital in order to deploy it into an apartment building. I own $400 million plus of property. I've only personally invested $125,000 of my own money. So guess what? You can light that one on fire that you do not need your own money in commercial real estate, right? Another one, it's all convoluted, it's all complex, it takes a lot of underwriting and all this other stuff. I can assure you it is easier to underwrite a 100-unit apartment building than it is to underwrite 100 single-family houses, right? You got one utility bill instead of 100. You got one tax bill instead of 100. You're looking at one set of financials instead of 100, right? Like you're going to looking at the same apartment 100 times versus 100 different custom homes with different layouts and different mechanicals and different everything else. So it's like, it's actually easier when you're comparing apples to apples, right? Is a 100-unit apartment building as easy as a single family house? No, but it's way easier than 100 single family houses, right? And so if you compare it apples to apples, it's just easier, right? There's a lot of language and a lot of verbiage that people are like, I need to learn all this stuff. It's a tweak for the exact same thing on the single family side, right? Stabilized value is the same thing as after repair value, right? Cap rate is the same thing as return on investment for the most part. There's a lot of things like that, value add, fixer upper, it's the same thing, right? It's just, I come from the residential world. I don't have a degree from an Ivy League school. I didn't come from a family that owned a bunch of commercial real estate. I've never taken a class on it. I've never read a book on it. I just took my philosophies in single family and deployed those into multifamily. So I'll give you an example. My buying criteria is I need to be all in for around 65 to 70 cents on the dollar of the after repair value, right? And so like, if I said, hey, if it works for single family, it must work for multifamily. The BRRRR method, right? Buy, renovate, rent, refinance. That was a method that people use a lot of times in single family. I just started using that in multifamily. And so it's not like, it's not as complex and convoluted as I think we all make it up to be in our heads. And it's a lot easier to digest than you might think. So going back to my first deal, it was 2012, right? It's the lowest the prices ever were. And I couldn't mess up. And I bought an 8-unit apartment building. I went in, I bought it super cheap. I was all in with renovations for $10,000 per door, right? So like, it's hard to mess that up. And it was a C- kind of an area. It was all beat up, and I used private money to do it. So I bought it, and I was all in it for less than $100,000, and I just used $100,000 of private money in order to then buy it and renovate it and then operate it. And so I didn't really refinance it. I held on to it, which is private money, for about a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I don't even know. And ended up selling it for about double what I was into it for. And so, and they still got a pretty good deal on it, right? So I think a lot of people think they have to wait to go and get like a 100-unit apartment building before they can get involved in apartments. And I can tell you that like you're not going to get the respect from brokers, and you're not going to get a good look at the good deals if you don't already have a portfolio. So I think it's better, like what I tell my students whenever I coach and do my boot camps and stuff. I'm like, listen, go out and just get the momentum going. Right? If you can't raise money on an 8-unit, how are you going to do it on an 80-unit, let alone an 800-unit portfolio? Right? Like, go out and raise money, go out and source deals, build the balance sheet, buy a 24-unit, buy a 10-unit, buy a 16-unit, buy a 60-unit. And all of a sudden, you pick up your head after a year or two, let's call it, and you're like, oh man, I own 100 doors. Well, great. Now you can qualify to go
Mhm.
buy a 100-unit apartment building, right? And then all of a sudden, then you double your portfolio overnight. And that's when this compound effect really starts setting in, and the snowball just grows and grows and grows, and you get so much momentum that you couldn't stop it even if you tried. So, I think it's more important to have those little victories and have those little wins, because then it makes it easier to raise more money, because you got a deal to point to. Hey, it's not a big deal, but made money, structured it the exact same way on this, 8-unit over here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this 18-unit over here. And so and then it gives you a little bit more confidence. You puff your chest out a little bit more, and you can talk to brokers in a more postured manner. You could talk to sellers in a more postured manner. You can talk to your private money lenders in a more postured manner, right? All because you already have some wins under your belt.
It's funny because I feel like when I bought the 25 unit, that did exactly that for me. Like brokers started calling me like, hey, look, we noticed that you bought this building. I'm like, yeah, I'm shopping more. But it almost gave me like that confidence of actually like doing my first big deal. And it was interesting because once I did the $4 million deal, I bought a $1.7 million deal, and that 1.7 didn't seem so big. The first one, I was nervous, man.
Yeah.
I was nervous as hell. So if I'm hearing you correctly, the main thing is obviously getting out there and doing deals, but also like getting rid of like the psychological like roadblocks that people have, like meaning like, I need all this money. Like the reality is you can raise money to do that. So the main important thing is learning how to find deals. And if you learn how to find deals, then essentially everything else will come into play.